Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And today we're giving our first impressions of An Age Contrived. And this was a game that I backed on Kickstarter or GameFound, one of them. I always get them messed up. But
So many.
Yeah, it was one that I think, it seemed like for 6+ months before it actually went live on the whatever page it was. I swear I saw ads non-stop for the game and whatever. And maybe it might have been even longer than that. But it was one that I was excited to see it come out. I was targeted by Facebook and I think it was mainly Facebook. But yeah, this was one that's come from a new company. Now I forget the name. But anyway,
Bellows Intent.
Yes, Bellows Intent. And I believe the owner, I don't know if he was also the designer of this, I can't remember, but he, I think, used to work for Panda Manufacturing, so I think kind of what he wanted to do with games was try to show what a publisher can provide and can do while still not charging insane amounts like some Kickstarters and GameFound projects these days, because I think it was I don't remember how much it was, but it was pretty decently priced comparatively, and it was coming with these metal boards that launch your pieces, which definitely got my attention, pulled me in. May have had me pretty excited about this one.
Yeah.
And I knew it had kind of a Euro piece to it as well. It was wouldn't say I was thinking, oh, it's going to be a really thematic game by any means, even though the cover looks really nice and it's kind of a cool looking world. The mechanisms and kind of the magnetic pieces on the board and the metal launcher thingies had me pretty excited as a whole package.
Yeah.
And you, when you saw it, or when I was telling you about these things, you did not look overly impressed. You weren't as impressed as I was.
Well, look,
with what was happening.
There's a lot of games in our collection that I feel like
That's
are
true.
maybe overproduced,
Produced?
and the gameplay under-delivers. So
That's true. That is
can't
fair.
blame me for being a little hesitant
That
because
is fair.
they reeled you in with the fancy things.
That is true, and a lot of them do that. So yeah, it still was one that definitely relied on that to reel me in further. So I can't lie about that.
Although I can't blame you, because when you look at the metal boards compared to the basic cardboard version that you get if you don't back the super deluxe or whatever this is, super lame.
When you compare the two of them, they are very much very different product that you're getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even the other thing that he said, oh, we can do this, and I don't know. I'm not saying that no other publishers have done it, but you could get your personal message inside the box if you got the, I think it was just the Founders Edition. So I don't know how many they had, but I just found that kind of interesting because, I don't know. It doesn't change gameplay at all, but it is something that they did, and my guess is it was probably not an overly easy thing to do, keep track of, and have them all individually marked and stuff. But yeah, so getting into our first game of it, our one and only play of it so far, I would say that I maybe agree with you a little bit on the past kind of history repeating itself. The production was pretty solid, but then the mechanical game boards that I'm so enthralled with don't really have much to do with the game, and sometimes they didn't really shoot out as well as I thought. I don't know if it's partially because we have a carpet on our table, so I can't say that it's just, most people aren't going to be using carpet as
you gotta get the flicking speed right.
Rug.
I think that's what it's down to.
Yeah, I think he did say that in there, that you have to get that. Once you get that down, I think you won't have an issue with it. But yeah, then the gameplay itself, we played it at 2 players, and so in the game you're kind of, you have your metallic board here, and you kind of have this moving column of action selection type game, and they're made up of these cardboard bits where you're putting these essence or azul type tiles, I would call them.
They're beautiful tiles.
They're really nice tiles. So that was another thing that pulled me in about the production. And then you're moving them from left to right, and your actions are changing as you go further down and think generally are better actions as you go further down, just depending on what you need. But you're loading in the tops of the cardboard pieces and the bottoms. And the tops are the pieces that you're potentially shooting out, and then you're putting out onto the game board itself. And the bottom ones are the ones that trigger the 5 actions.
That you have to pay to do an action.
Right. And I think it was cool when you did get to do a bunch, because in this game, unlike other games where sometimes it's like, it makes me think of Terraforming Mars is kind of that one. I guess has 2 actions you can do at a time, but instead of doing one at a time, you can do as many as you can do, and then it's the next person, or as many as you want to do.
Yeah.
And I found that pretty cool. I don't know that I've seen too many feel like that you can do it all, and it still didn't feel like that took like a crazy amount of time.
No.
Because I was worried about that at first. I was like, oh god, you're going to be able to trigger like 4 or 5 actions. It's going to be 5 minutes in between turns. But that wasn't the case. They're all quick things.
The way that the game works, though, with the reload of those makes that piece more like you need to be spot on with it. And then, like, if you do all your actions, you're going to be depleted. So then you're going to have to try and find a way to reload, and it's not efficient to do it. Right.
Because, doing any of your actions you want to do is one option you can do. Otherwise, you slide in you have 7 of these cardboard tiles that kind of have various amounts of, some have like 2 essence launchers and like 1 action, some have 2 actions, 1 launcher, some have 0. But anyway, you will put one of your 7 in to move it, and that's your other type of action, and you can add essence to that new one that you just moved in.
Yeah.
So that's how you kind of reload it with more essence.
But at most, you can do 2, and that's only if you...
Right.
So
then you're going to have a few turns of reloading things up and then trying to do actions, but then you might have accidentally scattered or left a couple essence here and there, and it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to have that go off the board because then I don't get to use it at all, so then you're taking actions that aren't as efficient.
Well, and in the meantime, the players around you, in our case, just each other, but in a higher player count, and the players around you are then likely performing actions because everyone's kind of at a different spot in what they're doing based on how they play, and so like what you loaded up for 3 turns ago might not even be an option anymore.
Right.
So
that is true as well, because one of the biggest things you're shooting essence out for are building these monuments, which are the other metal pieces, which make little 3D,
they're really cool.
Which end up making these 3D buildings on the board, which look really cool by the end of it, kind of building up slowly. And for each of those, they have you have 5 different essence things on your tiles, which I felt like all of those were like different enough that I wasn't ever like thinking, oh, these 2 look really similar. So I really liked that. But anyway, certain ones would require you to have certain ones, so that's where, like you said, if you had a lot of opponents out there, you could be loading up to try to shoot it out onto that building, but then someone else could put it out there, and you might find yourself in a bind, potentially. So, with that, I don't know if it's just maybe a first play thing, and as you'd play it more, you'd kind of get a better feel of, okay, if I do this, I'm going to just forgo that one. Maybe that is the better option, but when you're playing it the first time, it doesn't feel good. But then maybe it is better to just load up and do a bunch of them instead of, I'm going to move it 1 and then take a single action just to get that out.
Yeah.
Maybe with more plays it would feel different, but after 1 play, it just kind of felt like just a grindiness to it of not feeling like it would flow perfectly. Although towards the end of the game, I did feel like we were doing a little bit better than what it felt like in the first half of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it did not flow, and I was super overwhelmed going into the game too. So I watched the rules video on it, and it was a really good rules video. It's just this game. It's not like abstract in any way, I would say. It's just like the functionality of like, okay, so you pay this from this slot, but this slot specifically lets you play 2 tiles from the top from these specific slots. So it's not like this cohesive, like this slot is this slot, this slot is this slot. It's like, well, this one actually triggers this one triggers that lets you do this, and trying to get all of that down along with some of the actions and understanding like because I think there is a mechanical component to this, like where you want to kind of build a decent machine, like have those things triggering and moving and kind of whatever, but it just didn't ever felt like I got into that vibe.
I know. I would agree.
But I think it just is going to take multiple gameplays.
Yeah,
to
I would
fully
agree.
get it.
Because there are things that you can improve and make better, and you can put out your bridges to get kind of some special abilities, and you can get some improvements on the top too to kind of help you do extra actual movements on the board and movements on these two other pieces that you can add out onto the board. And those I felt like we did not do an amazing job at getting any of that.
They have these, they were really nice. They gave you player aids, so like your first time playing it, here's like your first 4 turns, here's what you should do. The card, not the 4-page player aid.
Yeah.
But I think one of the recommended for the specific person I was playing was like, get your bridge out as soon as possible. I got it out like the second to last turn. So I was like, I really just didn't start in a good spot for that, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did okay though.
Yeah, it ended up being close at the end, and it was.
But I think
it was interesting, but I don't know if anything really hooked me. And like when you are loading those 7, like you can upgrade the 7 tiles. Like I sort of sometimes felt like, oh yeah, I should put it in this order, but most of the time I felt like I was just putting them in there and not really even thinking about, well, do I want this one in this spot or do I want this one next?
It was like, this one's better because it's going to cost me less and I get to launch more.
Right. So I don't know if there is some like mental thing behind that, like, oh, I should actually wait and put that with this behind this one, and there might be some of that, but I definitely did not get that in the first game.
It might be a much deeper game than
I don't know.
I think we probably played surface level.
Yeah.
So.
And at 2 players it might have been a little bit different because we were just kind of trying to complete 3 buildings, whereas you get more and more buildings out there as you add more players to the game. So there you might have a little bit more. Yeah. I don't know that it would be interaction necessarily.
No.
It would just be more like things that you want to try to do versus. I felt like we did a lot of standing in single spots on the board, just a few different spots.
Movement seemed like it was going to be kind of like a main thing based on the rules video, but I ended up.
We did not do good at movement.
Nope.
But I think if we would have got those bonuses, I think that's what came down to it. We didn't get any of those, so that's why our movement and everything was not good.
I think they want you to get your bridges off because if people land on them, then you also get a benefit or something too. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just the benefit related to your thing.
You can get it and your opponents can get it if they go on it. But, that would help you do extra things that we weren't doing because we probably both got, 2 bridge bonuses in the entire game?
I got 1.
Didn't you go on to the second bridge later on?
Oh, yeah, that, yeah. Okay, yeah, I got 2.
But
which was not helpful at all.
Right. By the time you got it, it was too late in the game to matter.
But it was all right. Cause
if it had been early in the game, it would have been more meaningful. But, I think after the first play, this one's probably like a 6.75, 7 for me. I don't know if more plays will necessarily make it go up, but I don't know that they'd make it go down either. But I think more plays is really the key to figuring out if this is one that I like or not. Just one play for what's going on in this one. Just, I don't know. It was hard enough kind of figuring out how to get the engine going, let alone thinking about how to get the moved into the right place and get tracks going up and the bonus things and stuff. So
exactly. Yeah, I probably would give it. I gotta think about the BGG ranking. Probably like a 5.5 to a 6, where I don't know. It is low, but for me that's typical because typically games improve upon more playthroughs. For me, I don't start off very strong with with games, especially complicated ones, just because I just am a slow learner and take a little time to get to it. So I found it was interesting, but like you said, I don't think there was anything like groundbreaking in it that really spellbounded me for it. It was just a lot of rules, a lot of like little details about like if this then that, and when you do this then that, and here's how you do, so it's just like the minutia. Like the player aid was 4 pages and you need it.
Right.
Especially on your first couple of plays.
Right.
But there's minutia to the game. So,
Yeah.
and those are always really difficult for me to hop on board with.
Yeah, and I think it's a little weird because it does seem like a lot of it is pretty simple once you know
Yeah.
what's going on. So I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about how the rules are written that it makes it seem much more complex. And there are complexities,
Yeah.
but yeah, parts of it do seem sort of simple
Yeah.
once you know how to do it.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is. I think there are simplicities, but just the way it all comes together makes it very not simple.
I would agree. But yeah, we did an unboxing for this one, so you can check that out if you want to see all the stuff inside the box. But otherwise, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to see future content, and we hope to see you on our next video. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.